The String Bean by Edmond Séchan. The old woman has lived and worked for a long time in a dark building, bent over a sewing machine as old as she is. There she makes evening bags, white and golden handbags, with fine embroidery of pearls and silver fringe, glowing handbags for festive evenings and elegant ladies. Every morning and evening, the old woman works, but for a short time in the afternoon, when the weather is pleasant, she puts the spool of thread away and closes her sewing machine. An old-fashioned hat on her gray hair, she takes her handbag, an ordinary handbag, and goes out. She has followed the same path for many years, through the Tuileries gardens, which aren't very far from where she lives. She likes to walk in them when there are few people there, at the hour when the bustle of the city is faint and far off. As she walks slowly around the impeccable flower beds, she dreams of her childhood gardens, filled with the perfume of peonies and lilac, gardens that have disappeared and are forgotten. On her way home, she always stops in front of a florist's. There are crowds of beautiful flowers that she will never be able to buy. She looks at them for a while and smells their perfume. Then, with her quick little steps, she goes home to take up her work again. One evening, near a pile of newspapers and some empty bottles, she sees a discarded flower pot. She picks it up. It holds an azalea, or it did. The plant is dead. Only pieces of the blackened stem are left in the soil. Still, the soil is good and the pot can be used, so the old lady wraps the pot in a newspaper and carries it upstairs. A flower pot. Some earth? Good. She holds the pot close to her body, her eyes shining. In her room, using a fork, the only tool she has, she unearths the dead azalea. Then she takes from a large copper pan one white bean from among those chosen for her evening meal, the roundest, the nicest. With trembling fingers, she digs a little hole in the soil in the flower pot, this rare and precious earth, a gift of chance. In the hole, delicately, she plants the bean and fills in the soil. She waters the seed. Then she puts the pot outside on the windowsill. Every day, the old woman dutifully waters the soil. Then one morning, weeks later, something catches her eye. She can hardly believe it. The string bean has begun to grow. Every day, even every hour, the old woman looks up from her work to look up at her plant. 2 green leaves appear, then a third. But soon after this promising beginning, the leaves began to fade, as if the young string bean has exhausted itself in springing from the soil. Perhaps the string bean needs support. The old woman finds a knitting needle and plants it in the soil. Then she ties the stem of the plant to the needle with a piece of yarn. it is not enough. Sometimes in the morning, before 10 o'clock, a neighbor vigorously shakes his rug from the window above, an old rug filled with unhealthy dust. The woman watches helplessly as the dust dances down the string beans. It cannot breathe. Later, more enemies appear. The neighborhood pigeons seem fascinated by the plant. They often peck at the poor garden leaves. The woman tries to chase them away, but there are too many of them, and nothing is more obstinate than a pigeon. She cannot spend all her time going from sewing machine to the window. The lack of light, the rug, the pigeons, yet she must save the string bean. The old lady decides to move the plant, but there is not enough sun in her room. So she puts her flower pot out on the landing, first on a chair, later on a ground, trying to find sun for the string bean. And she keeps careful watch. But the earth turns, and from morning to evening, the old lady must keep moving the pot. Sometimes she forgets and neglects it. Sometimes she goes for her room and to the landing and neglects her work. Then an idea comes to mind. One walks dogs and children. Why not string beans? So she takes her little plant to the gardens. She hides it in a bag so that no one will see what she is carrying. In the Tuileries, there are sun and water. Sitting on a bench each day, she watches the plant as it starts to become green again. But these walks are brief, because she must work. Back in the dark building, the string bean again looks sickly. Its leaves fall. She doesn't know how to cure it. She has tried everything. The upstairs neighbor keeps shaking his old rug, and the inquisitive pigeons are back. When she looks out the window, she sees high up a superb blue sky. Outside it is summer, but in some rooms there is never any summer. Each day the old lady counts over and over the leaves on her string bean. They do not increase. The plant wastes quietly away. So she makes a decision. Very early one morning, she arrives in the Tuileries gardens. No one is there. She carries the string bean in her handbag, along with a little bottle of water. She must act quickly. The old woman removes the soil from the flower pot and uses the empty pot to dig a hole in the garden behind a little boxwood hedge. Then she plants the string bean in a sheltered place in the midst of luxurious flowers. She waters it from her bottle and keeps the pot to leave no trace. Afterwards, satisfied and a little tired, she sits for a moment on the bench. She rests. She is happy. People walk around her without noticing her or the string bean. Without anyone knowing, she has saved a plant and a life. That evening, when night falls and the gardens close, the old lady slowly goes back to her empty room, the room where, from now on, she will be alone. She soon misses the familiar presence of the few little green leaves. So each day, discreetly, she goes to see her planting. Everything is going well. With enough sun and water drawing new strength from the rich earth, the string bean now grows fast. She looks after it and sometimes cleans its leaves. Nobody knows that the string bean belongs to her. This bean plant, out of place amid the rare trees and brilliant flowers, is her own little secret garden. She has saved it, and seeing it grow is her compensation, her sweet mystery, comfort, joy. Day and night, the old lady thinks about it. There is, somewhere in Paris, something that belongs to her. The string bean keeps growing, quickly, even too quickly, as if making up for the past. Its leaves increase. It blossoms. The blossoms become seeds. Soon, the string bean reaches out over the top of the boxwood that has hidden it and kept it from harm. One day, a beautiful July day, 3 men come into the gardens, 2 gardeners and their boss, a very strict inspector. The 2 men start to work with shears, then with other tools, planting and pruning, clipping and cutting. When the old lady arrives at 10 o'clock, she is just in time to see them approaching her string beans. Its tender green leaves are leaning out further. The string bean is out of line. Its presence upsets the harmony of the design. It is an intruder. The old lady stays away from the gardeners. Without moving, very worried, she doesn't dare rush in to tell these men. She waits, her heart racing. Suddenly, the inspector points and one of the gardeners pulls out the string bean and throws it on the ground. After a while, the old lady watches the men leave for lunch. When she is alone, she approaches and gently lifts the broken plant. It is dead, and the leaves are already fading. She looks at it for a long time. But the old lady picks up some of the string beans and holds them in her hand like a bouquet. Quickly, she returns to her room. She has brought back some soil from the garden, puts it in the pot, and in it plants 3 new seeds. These seeds contain everything that remains of her hopes. It isn't too late, she knows. Nothing is lost. Everything will begin again, as before. Perhaps better than before. That was only a rehearsal. Behind her window, the old lady once again is on the lookout, her eyes fixed on the little pot of earth where the 3 seeds sit. This time, she will know how to protect them, when to move them, when to bring them home. In a few moments, she must go back to work. But first, a healthy, quiet rain comes from the sky. It rains quietly on the pot and on all of them. The end.